The award-winning BallGame Blitz Sports Network from Worthy Road Studios. Over 1 million views in 2024. We're where you need to advertise. Subscribe to our Worthy Road Studios YouTube channel and join the over 5,500 subscribers watching local sports, Union University, Bethel College, and USJ. Multi-camera broadcasts, slow motion instant replay, on-screen scoreboard and graphics, and professional announcers. Thanks to our sponsors who make it all possible. BallGame Blitz Sports Network from Worthy Road Studios, the premier sports broadcast network in West Tennessee.
Welcome back to another edition of the Lightning Strike Sports Show on the Worthy Road Studios Network, brought to you by the BallGame Blitz, which is part of Worthy Road Studios. BallGame Blitz Network is the premier live sports network in West Tennessee, having over 1 million viewers just during the last school year. And of course, we have great schools like Union and USJ. Other things done by Worthy Road Studios include weddings, funerals, proms, etc., like that, awards, banquets, and other sporting events. We've done boxing. Let's get into some headlines very quickly in this edition. Some of these may be old by the time you get them, but more trade rumors coming out of the Cardinals. They've talked to Nolan Arenado about trade. He has a no trade clause. They're talking to him. Injuries with the Titans, or one of them's an injury. Will Levis out for the season, so the quarterback competition's pretty well over. It's probably Cam Ward's job. Also, Lorenzo Carter, that they had signed in the offseason to play defensive end, very productive at age 29, has decided he's going to retire. Speaking of retirements, former Chargers quarterback, also played with the Colts and some other team, Phillip Rivers, has officially retired as a member of the Chargers 5 years after his final NFL game. He had thoughts of maybe being called back. And we told you about the situation with the AAC becoming the American Athletic Conference, or just dropping and being a two-word conference name. Lots of talk about Arch Manning. We may get to that later. And Steve Sarkisian has called out a salary cap as something needed. He says calls out salary cap problem in college football. New era, somebody's going to get punished. And it's really bad. But those are some of the headlines. A couple of local headlines very quickly. Karma Wilkie signed with Bethel Softball. She's from West Carroll and Tresvant, Tennessee, and they are really up. They've got a new coach at Bethel, Diamond Dave McCulley, the interim AD, still sports information director, wearing two hats right now. He was more than happy to send that out, so congratulations to Bethel and also to Karma Wilkie. We'll tell you about some of the local young people, but we promised you about a week ago, or maybe less, we talk about Trenton Peabody. Well, you can't talk about Trenton Peabody without talking about Walter Kilzer. First of all, let's bring it up to date. You got a new head coach, Tab Val. He's been their defensive coordinator. Tab's going to do a great job. Did a great job at Northside. Played against some great teams and got to the semifinals of the state several times. Tab is a championship caliber coach. He's got a good staff. He's going to be in Region 7 AA for the year 2025 and 26. But Peabody Golden Tide, Gibson County Pioneers, the Halls Tigers, the Huntington Mustangs, JCM, and of course they're the Cougars, Milan Bulldogs, and Union City Tornadoes. One of the toughest regions in the state of Tennessee, and you never know where you're going to see those teams pop up. Now, when they match up in the first round in the playoffs, it goes against Region 8 AA. New playoff format this year, and you won't see your fellow teams unless one of those odd quirks shows up until the semifinal again. These are the teams they would match up against in the first round if they get that far, these teams. Bluff City Wolves, Fairleigh Bulldogs, Hillcrest Vikings, Memphis Academy of Science and Engineering, they're the Phoenix, Memphis Business Academy Execs, the Mitchell Tigers, and Sheffield Knights, and the Tresvant Bears. Those are just some of the teams. Now, told you about Tab Val, told you about their region. Let's go back in history. original playing field over there was a great playing field called Historic Freed Field. Much history there, great field. I got to play on that field a long time ago, and what brought this episode on was some requests from some Peabody. If you got a request, get a hold of me, let me know. Plus, I talked to a great Peabody quarterback from the 60s named Ken Oster, who later went on and played at East Tennessee State University and coached for years at Bristol High School at Bristol, Tennessee, the Bristol Vikings. And what a great job. Talked to him the other day. We're going to try to have more contact with him and have an interview or something with him. But you have to talk about the legendary Walter Kilzer. And of course, the newer field, and it's a new field, and the reason I called it newer is because Historic Freed Field doesn't ever need to be forgotten. But Walter Kilzer was born a long time ago, 1922 to be exact. An interesting date, he was born on October 31st, Halloween. He had a great career. He was not only a great coach, but he was an educator. But coaches are teachers. They're teachers of athletics. They're also, in the old days, they had to be a teacher in the classroom. They had to be a good one, too. His journey at Trenton actually began in 1947. You got to remember that Kilzer played his football in college at Vanderbilt and then at Georgia Tech under the legendary Bobby Dodd, a great guy. He coached at Peabody, I believe, for 31 years. Started in 1947, influenced countless people, not just his players and athletes, but all kinds of people. He had expertise, very smart man. He had a passion for the game. He coached for the love of the game because, trust me, you didn't get rich coaching. It helped. It made a little money, but you didn't get rich coaching in high school at that time. Walter Kilzer, a true gentleman with the love of the game. Now, he was into character, sportsmanship development. He was a great sport himself. When he left Trenton, or Peabody, if you prefer, and that is the correct term, he went to Old Hickory Academy / University School of Jackson. And he coached over there, transitioning to head coach from 85 to 88. Mickey Marley there that spent some time in Trenton as a junior high coach. Mickey was one of his assistants. Interesting story, and maybe we'll get Mickey to tell you that story, or I'll tell it to you sometime, how Mickey became an assistant at USJ. Equally interesting how he got to Peabody and did a good job as the middle school coach. Throughout his career, Walter Kilzer was known as the dean of coaches here in West Tennessee, and he had great influence and impact. Everybody respected. My coach, Tom Fan and Richard Ross, had great respect. John Hooper respected Walter Kilzer. I could go on. There was so much. Now, something I left out about Coach Kilzer, he not only played football in college, but he played basketball at Vanderbilt. And like I said, he played under the legendary Bobby Dodd. Later at Georgia Tech, he participated in the Sugar Bowl in 1944. And those are just a few of the things. He had a remarkable career. He's in the TSSAA Hall of Fame, the Gibson County Sports Hall of Fame. And his coaching legacy is not only of success, but the people he helped, what he did, and he left a great legacy. Walter Kilzer Stadium, and of course, Coach Kilzer passed away September 15th of 2008, and he also played championship football for Peabody. In fact, I left out, besides his time with Bobby Dodd. And another little factoid, one of his teammates was longtime Arkansas athletic director Frank Broyles. And what a guy. But he coached the Tide for 34 years, 31 of them head coach. And we love Walter Kilzer and have great respect. Now, let me just give you a little background on the Peabody Golden Tide. They were conference champions in 1940 in the Big Ten when we still had conferences. They were conference champions in the Midwest Conference in 72. They won many bowl games, including they were champions in the Tiny Knee Bowl, the Little Cotton Bowl, the Jackson Ruatan Bowl, the Collierville Charity Bowl, the South Tipton County JC Bowl, the Trenton's Elk Charity Bowl. They won twice, plus they played some other bowl games that they didn't win. Their winningest coach at the time I got this information together, if my math serves me correctly, was Walter Kilzer with 149 wins, 145 losses, 20 ties, and remember, he was head coach for 31 years. I've got a whole, this is a list of the years, and I'm not going to bore you with this. Let me hit you with some other people that was associated with Peabody High School and West Tennessee, the TSSAA. First of all, one of your head coaches at Peabody and here in West Tennessee was a man by named A.F. Bridges. That's A. Foster Bridges is what he went by for the most part. A.F. Bridges, what the award and things like, he was the first executive director of the TSSAA. Bridges had all kinds of work and things that he did in athletics. He embarked on his career in 1926 as a teacher and a coach, held those roles until 1946 across several schools, Milan, Chester County, Peabody, and Byers Hall in Covington. And it was called Byers Hall at that time over in Covington. 36 to 46, he served as superintendent for the Trenton schools. He spent some time in Covington there. It was after these distinguished stints that he transitioned into the secretary for the TSSAA. And in 1946, he took the executive director's position he held for 26 years until he was followed by Gil Gideon. Now, Gil lived in Trenton. He didn't coach there. He had coached at Lexington and at Tigard and some other places, and had come out of the Jackson system to be the assistant executive director. And he took over when Mr. Bridges retired. But his son Bob did play and wear the Peabody uniform. And those are two men that we want to make sure that we mention. And it would be remiss if we didn't. And the TSSAA really had their start right there in Trenton, Tennessee. I'm not going to name every coach, but a few that some people wanted me to say something about. Glenn McAdams, who was a revered coach in the world of high school football everywhere, not just in Trenton. He was an assistant in Milan for a long time, a revered head coach at Peabody. He also coached David Lipscomb for quite a while, and he had a 31 tenure just at Lipscomb alone. And a guy that we want to remember, he passed away back in March of 2013, but his legacy does endure. He's also a TSSAA Hall of Famer. You would think I would talk about Tim Haney, and Tim, don't worry, I will talk about you. Hopefully your ears won't burn, though. Nothing but good things to say. One of my favorite people, Tim Haney, your superintendent there. Tim Haney, though, is a Milan boy. His dad is Bill Haney, is one of those guys that had a great career as a contributor. He's in the TSSAA Hall of Fame. But he also had a local radio station, did football and basketball games, dedicated 38 years of his life to covering TSSAA high school sports. And what a great job. He and a couple of people, Monty Hale, Dick Palmer, got added in it. They started the network, the sports network that did the basketball games at the state tournament. What a great job he did. He's in multiple Hall of Fames, Milan Man of the Year. But he also sent you folks Tim Haney, who had an outstanding football coaching career, and I think still, even as superintendent, coaches a little bit of football on the middle school level. Guy I'm only briefly going to mention, he was there for a short time, but he took your girls basketball team to the state tournament. That's Tommy Cobbin, better known for his time at Humboldt, and we'll talk more about that, but we just wanted to mention a few of the people you asked about. And of course, Peabody, what a great school. We're going to have more about Peabody and about the people for this year and who's coming back. Team, Coach Jacobs has left. Coach Val has stepped in. Everybody's excited that I've talked to. Got to talk to Tab. Hadn't talked to him since back in the spring. But that's something to be excited about. Now, the American Athletic Conference, like we told you in an earlier broadcast, launching a new identity. And at Irving, Texas, they officially announced the dynamic modernization of its brand identity. That's changed up. New era for the league. And they have changed it to the American Conference. The conference retired the names American Athletic Conference and AAC. The league from now on will be referred to as American Conference on first reference and simply American after that. And proud to be an American. Oh, that's Lee Greenwood, but so is this conference. Their new rally call, they have a tagline called Built to Rise, which probably should be pretty resilient by design. It's purpose driven. And it's a bold new visual identity. I don't have a picture of the logo, but you're going to have a Soar the Eagle. It's a first of its kind conference ambassador type thing. And I like that because there's some 30-second PSAs. We may get a hold of them and play you one of those. But again, hats off to the American Conference, who has an agreement with ESPN. So, and they usually have a representative, well, not every year, but most years in the playoffs, college football playoffs. We're not going to discuss anything. I do need to clear up some things on the, I had some people ask me about the college playoff and the difference between the Big Ten and the SEC. Well, the idea of a prearranged college football playoff power conference beyond their champions is dead. Yep. And that's to be celebrated. I know one writer said I wanted to dance on the grave. And the push from Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti, and you have to make a little adjustment. Sometimes people forget and they call you right in the middle of a broadcast because I use my phone like a teleprompter. And anyway, the push from the Big Ten Commissioner was for the SEC and Big Ten to get the 4 automatic bids we told you about, and 2 go into the AAC and to the Big 12, 1 to a non-power Power 4 conference champ and an at-large berth, a 4-4-2-2-1 plan. It would have been too bold, too brazen exercise of formalized power the SEC and the Big Ten would have had in directing CFP, that's college football playoff changes, along with being a bad idea. And it would have been a bad idea. It was prescribed as a predetermined strength or lack of for each league. And again, that same writer called it rubbish. Now, I believe the writer was Chase Goodbread. He writes for the Tuscaloosa paper, so you can see he has a little, and I agree with him though. It has no legs. The SEC's not going to buy in. We can say that it's over. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey's marks on Monday acknowledged that the SEC's position on changing the format of the CFP isn't aligned, and he strongly said isn't aligned with the Big Ten Conference not so grand plan, and he made it pretty clear. The SEC right now seems to like the 12-team format, 5 conference champions receiving automatic bids, 7 at-large spots. So we'll wait and see what happens for that. The leverage the Big Ten has been reduced. Insistence from the SEC and the ACC to go, so they don't have it. It's not going to happen. Hopefully I answered your questions. If you don't see me when I'm out, I love to eat out at some of the eating places, and you know what my favorite hangout is. I'm not going to bore you. Some quick coaching changes. Belichick, we know, is at North Carolina. Frank Wright, that used to be the ex-Colts and Panthers coach, is at Stanford. K.C. Keeler, for you Memphis fans that listen to this show, he's at Temple, and watch out, Temple has given Memphis fits over the last couple of years. Trey Lamb is at Tulsa. Barry Odom, you've heard his name before, once was at Missouri, and he is going to be at Purdue. Scott Frost is back at UCF, where he had some great time. And Charles Kelly at Jacksonville State. Paul Longo at Houston, and I'm having to check some of these names out. I want to make sure that Eddie George was hired at Bowling Green in March after 4 years at Tennessee State. Hated to see him leave. Brian Smith was promoted to replace Albin after he left, and Brian's going to be an assistant. He's not the head coach there. Well, that's at Ohio. He is a head coach now. Let me refrain and clear that up. Don't want to mess that up. In the Pac-12, Jimmy Rogers has moved up to top-level college football from his national title at South Dakota State. And Tony Gibson in the Sun Belt Conference will take over Marshall, having to rebuild there. Charles Huff is at Southern Mississippi. Now, a couple of things. We got heroes and zeros. Well, the zeros are these people that keep coming up with these ignorant plans. The zeros are the people that are trying to injure Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. Let the young lady play. The zeros are the officials that are blindly letting people other than Caitlin Clark also get hurt. Now, heroes for the day. Good day. We'll take a little liberty on heroes. I'm wearing my shirt. It's my shirt that was given to me by two of my animals. One has passed away. Yoda, who was a great fan of watching any moving sport on TV. She watched Paul's broadcast of Worthy Road Studios at several schools. She did watch the NFL and things like that. A great dog, never met a person she didn't like. Wish she'd been a little more vicious sometimes, but the dog didn't have a vicious bone in her body. And so on a sad note, missing Yoda. The other one on this shirt is my cat, who has visited Chris today during the broadcast. And sometimes, because this is done from my home office, sometimes you hear my cat. He was pretty quiet today. Gizmo is my fan, but also a big fan of another sportscaster here in West Tennessee that he dearly loves. And of course, we've got two new puppies that are becoming sports fans. One of them is a rescue dog that we're working with, trying to heal the things that have gone wrong in a dog's life. And then we've got our own puppy, Baby Yoda, and then Princess Leia is the rescue dog that was abused that we're trying to, like I said, give a good home to and a great attitude. She gives a lot of love and has come a long way. Worthy Road Studios and the BallGame Blitz is a group that will love the athletes, the people, and they bring you, and they don't just do this for money. They do it for the love of the game to bring you the best in quality sports. My heroes of the day, though, are the late Yoda and also my present live cat, Gizmo, with assistant heroes being my puppy dogs. Please do not abuse animals. Turn in anybody that abuses children or animals. You see parents that leave children in cars, they should be reported. And you see animals left in cars, they should be reported, and you get those animals out of there if the condition. 15 minutes is all it takes from heat to do that. We're going to wrap this show up. Hopefully you've enjoyed another edition of the Lightning Strike Sports Show on the BallGame Blitz Network in Worthy Road Studios. And for the whole crew, let's just say thanks for your time this time. Till the next time we see you. Good day, all.
The award-winning BallGame Blitz Sports Network from Worthy Road Studios. Over 1 million views in 2024. We're where you need to advertise. Subscribe to our Worthy Road Studios YouTube channel and join the over 5,500 subscribers watching local sports, Union University, Bethel College, and USJ. Multi-camera broadcasts, slow motion instant replay, on-screen scoreboard and graphics, and professional announcers. Thanks to our sponsors who make it all possible. BallGame Blitz Sports Network from Worthy Road Studios, the premier sports broadcast network in West Tennessee.